on my on the host. We've been to a piano that white house. If you watch the post, the city host. Now the host don't go, the water don't care go the host. Then the pole, everything don't can don't go. Now go safe way. Another don't grey. Where are they? Are they now one big host? Now they are team up. Where are they make this video here so? See, water don't care go the host. When they see the white house stay again, the white house don't go. The poles them all just don't kind of run. Wow!
This time I'm going to work out the one you ask for here. Now, you don't tell me the really, you don't see the radio, but now I'm going to say, don't you know? But there I am, you was on a 9 months. Around the next year, I think they're going to come back home.
No, we're not.
Because it's not 4 o'clock morning, no. Now it's 4 o'clock morning.
Roads turned into rivers of mud. These are the scenes in Freetown after mudslides wiped out 2 areas on the outskirts of the city, carrying away hundreds of men, women and children and submerging their homes. After days of heavy rains, hillsides collapsed in the middle of the night when most people were sleeping. Corpses are washing up on the streets and the morgues are struggling to cope with the rising numbers of dead. One resident described what he saw.
What I saw is actually extremely very terrible and unimaginable because too many people have lost their lives. We saw that around the Regent community, there was a huge flooding. There was certain areas of the road, you cannot access the road at all. Unfortunately, the more I get closer to the city center, the more I get to see more disasters. In a small community called Motema, there was already a very huge landslide that actually covered a lot of houses.
Police and military personnel are searching for people still trapped in the debris. They're joined by residents looking for their loved ones. This is a poor area, and many of the houses were built illegally. The Red Cross are assessing the disaster areas and trying to establish the number killed, but they will also have to attend to the living, because it's estimated over 2,000 people are now homeless. The humanitarian effort required to deal with the fallout could be enormous. Freetown is overcrowded, and flooding raises the risks of waterborne diseases like cholera. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera.
Well, the Red Cross says more than 600 people are now missing and that more than 200 have been killed after heavy rains caused a severe mudslide in the West African nation of Sierra Leone. Witnesses say victims were sleeping early Monday when a hillside collapsed near Freetown. Aid agencies are evacuating people nearby. Just look at those rushing waters. Tom Sater is following this disaster from the CNN Weather Center. He has more, Tom.
Amber, it was just yesterday, 24 hours ago, we talked about the devastating landslides in northern India with the 2 buses down a gorge. Nepal seeing their worst flash flooding and landslides all year long, and northeast India is flooding again. And just when you think it can't get any worse or a death toll can't get any higher. this happened. These boulders most likely were not there yesterday. This is down closer to where the town of the capital, Freetown, meets, of course, the coast. This is the time of year where we have a wave. It's almost a highway of storms across north-central Africa. It's the intertropical convergence zone. It slides up towards June. So the wet season really in Western Africa in this area is June through October. But the rainiest months are July and August. And about every 4 days, if you were to look at a chart of the rain in the last couple of weeks, we have these little waves that develop. Every 4 days, they get a little bit of a spike, but this has been a higher than usual amount of rainfall for this season. You can start to see them develop. When they move off the coast, they become something tropical during the hurricane season for the Atlantic. Here is Freetown. It is an overcrowded coastal city, home to 1.2 million. Satellite-derived rainfall shows the heavier amounts that have typically been offshore, but Freetown is onshore. Now, the higher mountain village of region is where we had the heavy rain at night with the landslide. Of course, water just wants to take the fastest path it can out toward the ocean, and the pictures and the devastating news was coming in. What we're looking at here is a landslide. This is in the higher terrain. To give you perspective, there's a vehicle. So this is just part one. The second part was the mud flow, the debris through the town, which created just as much damage. Since the 1st of July, they picked up over a meter's worth of rainfall. Typically, it would be 350 millimeters. So this is about 3 times what they would typically have. You'll see on the satellite, here comes another wave. In 4 days, we'll have another one that'll move in right behind it. Most of it, of course, you would hope that would miss the areas, but any change in the path of these storms could drop a lot more. We are looking at our forecast models to keep heavier amounts, but still 50 to 100 millimeters could move into this area. Then we'll watch it develop as a wave, just like Tropical Storm Gert did as it came off the coast of Africa. So again, when you have 600 believed to be missing, you know the death toll is going to rise. Already in the hospital and the mortuaries are packed and overcrowded, but they have rescued over 71.
definitely there is fire. If there is such a big smoke. Yeah, that's the next one.
Είναι αποκαρδιωτικές οι εικόνες. Ο κύριος Γιώργος Γιασημάκης είναι μαζί μας, είναι δημοτικός σύμβουλος στην περιοχή του Οροπού. Να μας μεταφέρετε κι εσείς τι γνωρίζετε, κύριε Γιασημάκη, για την κατάσταση.
Η κατάσταση εδώ είναι ανεξέλεκτη πλέον. Έχει φτάσει φωτιά έξω μέσα στο χωριό, καίγονται σπίτια και δεν υπάρχουν αέριες δυνάμεις. Υπάρχουν μόνο 2 ελικόπτερα και κάνουμε έκκληση να στείλουν κι άλλα. Να στείλουν αεροπλάνα. Δεν μπορεί να καιγόμαστε με 100 μέτρα από τη θάλασσα να μην έρχονται αεροπλάνα να σβήσουν τη φωτιά. Έχει πει στο χωριό και καίγεται το χωριό.
Έχετε δει να καίγονται σπίτια, κύριε Γιασημάκη?
Καίγονται σπίτια, ναι.
Έχουν εκενωθεί οι κατοικίες στην ευρύτερη περιοχή όπως είχε γίνει νωρίτερα με τις κατασκηνώσεις?
Έχουν εκενωθεί οι κατασκηνώσεις, ναι. Έχουν κλείσει οι δρόμοι και διώχνουν τον κόσμο, ναι.
Ο κόσμος είχε προλάβει να φύγει από την περιοχή που βλέπουμε να έχουν φτάσει αυτή τη στιγμή οι φλόγες?
Έχει φύγει ο κόσμος, δεν μπορούμε να είμαστε σίγουροι για όλα. Πρέπει να έχουν φύγει.
Λοιπόν, να προσπαθήσουμε.
Αυτό που κάνουμε όμως είναι έκκληση να στείλουν και άλλα αέρια μέσα. Δεν σβήνει η φωτιά.
Λοιπόν, οι εικόνες που βλέπουμε είναι πραγματικά αποκαρδιωτικές. Δεν ξέρω, κύριε Γιασημάκη, αν μπορείτε να μας πείτε και πώς ξεκίνησαν όλα. Γύρω στις 4 από ό,τι μαθαίνουμε ξέσπασε αυτή η πυρκαγιά.
Από τη θέση Λαγομούτρα ξεκίνησε και η πρώτη αντίδραση υπήρξε γύρω στα 45 λεπτά μετά.
Μας λέτε, από ό,τι καταλαβαίνω, ότι ήταν καθυστερημένη και η αντίδραση, όπως εσείς την έχετε αντιληφθεί.
Αυτό που είναι ανεπίτρεπτο όμως είναι ότι αυτή τη στιγμή υπάρχουν μόνο 2 ελικόπτερα. Η φωτιά είναι μέσα στο χωριό και υπάρχουν μόνο 2 ελικόπτερα.
Προσπαθούμε και εμείς να επικοινωνήσουμε με το συντονιστικό της πυροσβεστικής για να έχουμε και από εκεί καλύτερη και επίσημη ενημέρωση για την επιχείρηση. Μαζί μας και ο Δήμαρχος Οροπού, ο κύριος Ρούσος. Κύριε Δήμαρχε. Ρούσης, κύριε Δήμαρχε. Κύριε Ρούση, μας ακούτε?
Ναι, πείτε μου.
Πέστε μας πώς είναι η κατάσταση αυτήν την ώρα.
Η κατάσταση είναι πολύ επικίνδυνη. Μπορεί να καεί και ολόκληρος ο κάλαμος. Ειλικρινά σας μιλάω, δεν έχουν έτσι ένα αέρια μέσα. Είναι μόνο 2 ελικόπτερα και 1 σινούκ. Παρακαλάμε να έρθουν άλλα, μαζί μας δεν έχουμε. Δεν ξέρω. Εμείς έχουμε όλες τις δυνάμεις μας εδώ. Δεν ξέρω πού θα καταλήξει αυτή η τόσο επικίνδυνη.
Κύριε Δήμαρχε, έχετε εικόνα κι εσείς από σπίτια που ενδέχεται αυτήν την ώρα να έχουν καεί?
Σίγουρα έχουν καεί, δεν μπορώ να σας πω αριθμό. Δεν μπορώ να σας πω, το μόνο που βλέπω είναι κάπτα, τίποτα άλλο.
Είχε προηγηθεί κάποια πρωτοβουλία των τοπικών αρχών, τουλάχιστον να εκενωθούν οι κατοικίες στην περιοχή? Το γνωρίζετε?
Οι κατασκηνώσεις της Κίντερλαντ. Αυτή τη στιγμή εκενώνονται. Φεύγουν τα παιδάκια με προορισμό την πλατεία του Καλάμου.
Κύριε Ρούση, είναι και εθελοντές, δασοπυροσβέστες, τι δυνάμεις υπάρχουν αυτήν την ώρα, τουλάχιστον χερσαίες?
Και από τους γειτονικούς δήμους. Δυστυχώς όμως είναι πολύ πυκνή εδώ η βλάστηση, δύσβατη και δεν μπορεί, αν δεν υπάρχουν ένα αέρια μέσα, να μπορέσουμε να την κατασβέσουμε.
Λοιπόν, ακούμε και είναι πολύ χαρακτηριστικά. Κύριε Ρούση, σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Ο Δήμαρχος Οροπού. Επιστρέφω στον κύριο Γιασημάκη, το Δημοτικό Σύμβουλο. Μαζί μας πάντα και ο συνάδελφος Μιχάλης Τεζάρης. Ενώ, κυρίες και κύριοι, οι εικόνες που παρακολουθείτε είναι σε απευθεία σύνδεση βεβαίως. Είναι εικόνες που μεταφέρει ο συνάδελφος Λευτέρης Κόσκολος από την καρδιά της πυρκαγιάς αυτήν την ώρα στον Κάλαμο. Κύριε Γιασημάκη, δώστε μας αυτήν την ώρα την εικόνα που έχετε.
Είναι πάρα πολύ επικίνδυνη η κατάσταση. Η φωτιά έχει μπει, σας λέω, μέσα στο χωριό για να κάνουμε έκκληση για μια φορά να έρθουν αέρια μέσα. Με 2 ελικόπτερα αυτή η φωτιά δεν σβήνει. Θα φύγει, θα κάψει στο χωριό και θα φύγει και παραπέρα.
Να ζητήσω αν μπορούμε να επικοινωνήσουμε και με το γραφείο τύπου της πυροσβεστικής να έχουμε ενημέρωση. Είναι δύσκολες οι ώρες αυτές. Θυμίζω ότι σήμερα είχαμε πολλά μέτωπα και στη Ζάκυνθο. Εκεί είχαν εστιάσει από νωρίς οι άνθρωποι που συντονίζουν την πυροσβεστική. Αλλά φαίνεται ότι η κατάσταση στον Κάλαμο πια είναι έκρηθμη. Κύριε Γιασημάκη, ο κύριος Ρούσος, ο Δήμαρχος, μας μίλησε για την εκένωση των κατασκηνώσεων, ότι είναι σε εξέλιξη. Δεν έχουν ήδη φύγει τα παιδιά από εκεί?
Στην παραλία, Φοβάμαι για σπίτια, φοβάμαι για κατοίκους. Έχουμε ειδοποιήσει να κενώσουν τα σπίτια, δεν θέλανε να φύγουν. Δεν ξέρω τι πρέπει να γίνει, γίνεται ένας χαμός αυτή τη στιγμή. Οι άνθρωποι είναι αναστατωμένοι, έχουν βρέξει τις αυλές τους, έχουν κάνει ό,τι μπορούν να κάνουν και εκείνοι για να προστατευτούν.
Νύχτα κόλαση πέρασαν οι κάτοικοι του Καλάμου μετά τις δραματικές διαστάσεις που πήρε η φωτιά. Μια φωτιά που έφτασε στον Βαρνάβα, έκαψε δάσος, σπίτια και συνέχισε το καταστροφικό της έργο. Παρά τις προσπάθειες πυροσβεστών και εθελοντών, η πυρκαγιά επεκτάθηκε ανεξέλεγκτα.
A firefighting aircraft dumped water on an inferno below as ground crews raced to stop several wildfires from spreading. This one in the village of Kalamos, 50 kilometers from the capital Athens, ripped through a pine forest and damaged houses, forcing people to flee their homes.
It's a huge catastrophe. All around the village perimeter, everything's on fire. And now behind me, the fire's started again. It's very big.
The forest here in Kalamos has suffered enormous destruction from a fire that possibly started near an electricity pole and spread because of a lack of aerial support. Help didn't arrive fast enough.
In the nearby town of Varnavas, helicopters scooped water from the sea to help extinguish multiple fires. The rugged terrain has made the task difficult for crews on the ground. The region's popular with holidaying Athenians. Local road networks have been closed as the fires expand in several directions, including towards the capital city. Meanwhile, authorities on the western island of Zakynthos believe fires there were started deliberately after 8 separate ones broke out over the weekend. Summer wildfires are common in Greece. 10 years ago, more than 70 people died during the most serious outbreak in decades. Authorities say the latest fires have stretched their capabilities to the limit. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera.
Over 2,000 firefighters are tackling 10 major infernos across central and northern Portugal as authorities struggle to get the blazes under control. Teams of firefighters were drafted in from across the EU on Sunday to assist their Portuguese counterparts after the government activated the European Civil Protection Protocol as a precautionary measure. The fires, which continue to rage in the districts of Castelo Branco, Santarém, Villarreal, Coimbra, Leiria and Aveiro, were ignited by the exceptionally dry and hot weather that contributed to the country's worst forest fire disaster in living memory in June, when 64 people died trying to flee the flames in Pedregal Grande. More than 140,000 hectares of forest have burned this summer in Portugal, more than 3 times higher than the average over the last decade.
Even as India celebrates Independence Day, the flood situation is really wreaking havoc in Bengaluru. Rains have wreaked havoc across Bengaluru on Independence Day, with low-lying areas flooded, and there is a park out, in fact, from several areas in the capital city of Karnataka. Deepak Bopanna now joining us on the phone line with the details. Deepak, in just a few hours of rain, it seems that Bengaluru, large parts inundated with flood.
Absolutely, and it's quite shocking the way some of these areas are flooded. Mostly it's been HSR layout, Koramangala, where maximum complaints have been reported to the BBMP complaint cell, which many people have been claiming that hasn't been working through the night. Now, we should understand that a lot of work was done to prepare for such a situation by the BBMP, and it seemed like most of them have failed, be it the desilting work or the anti-encroachment drive, where several people were left homeless to ensure that the stormwater drains are cleared so that such a situation does not occur. And what's happening once again is roads flooding, and here you can see it's not just a small flooding that we're looking at, almost the ground floor being submerged. We're also looking at some exclusive pictures coming in now, where we've seen 2 kids who were infants, in fact, and they were being taken away. The whole night they had to spend their night in the first floor in the neighbor's house, after which they were quickly taken away because the situation there is getting worse. Help hasn't reached the residents there. They are hoping that the BBMP does bring in men so that they can clear their homes, get rid of the water. A tough situation early this morning for several residents in these areas.
What was a rice field has become a temporary riverbed. Those in the village of Bhardwa in the eastern plains of Nepal forced to endure the worst flood seen here in years. None of its houses have been left untouched. The floods, the result of torrential overnight rains on Friday. In just a few hours, villagers were forced to flee to higher ground. Larubati Mandal, a grandmother, asked us to see her house.
All of food we had stored is damaged. My goats have died. There's nothing to eat and nowhere to cook. One villager gave us some puffed rice, and that's all that we've been eating.
Her home has been badly damaged, with the walls literally coming apart. Locals have been trying to save whatever food possible. Villagers say that the flood would not have been quite as bad had it not been for the embankment built by the Indian government more than 60 years ago. It was ostensibly built to control the river Koshi and irrigate land in India. They say the height of these dams also means that there was no way for water to escape the village.
This embankment has been a problem before. In 2008, when it breached, more than 400 people had died, not only in Nepal but also in India. Now the locals are saying forcefully breaking it was the only option left for them to survive.
The exit canals are designed to move water away from the village. They are said to have failed.
Any debris blocks this canal. There is a dead buffalo here. God broke this embankment.
There is blame, but as of yet, no relief to be shared. Until then, the villagers will stay dry on the very same embankment they say is partly responsible for their troubles. Sabina Shrestha, Al Jazeera, Saptari district in southeast Nepal.
In the Canadian high Arctic, this ship meets little resistance ploughing through ice as the summer months turn this frozen wilderness into open sea. The Northwest Passage between the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans was sought for centuries by explorers and adventurers alike. But with global warming, Arctic sea ice is vanishing at an alarming rate.
There's dramatic changes in the overall extent and thickness of ice. Where we used to see heavy multi-year ice many meters thick, now we're seeing much thinner ice and much less ice.
Since the first crossing in 1906, the number of vessels has steadily increased. The Associated Press was on board the Finnish icebreaker, the MSV Nordica, as it made the earliest transit ever, and at a time of the year when the route is usually blocked.
Last year, as an example, this area that we're in now and is completely covered by ice was free of ice, a very rare occurrence.
Ice melt in the summer is normal, but scientists and mariners say it's thinner now, disappearing earlier in the summer and returning later in fall. According to the US National Snow and Ice Data Center, Arctic sea ice coverage has dropped by an average of about 34,000 square miles each year since 1979.
When a surface is white, it reflects radiation back to space. When that surface goes from white to dark, as occurs when you melt ice, more of that energy is absorbed locally.
Locally, it's a whole ecosystem that is threatened, from plankton under the ice at the bottom of the food chain all the way to polar bears and whales.
Some of these animals that are highly associated with the ice are not going to be able to adapt in a reasonable amount of time to keep up with climate change at the rate that it's happening. So it's definitely going to impact animals. It's going to impact polar bears' ability to hunt seals.
Yet sea ice is just one of several alarming changes. The Nupkangalua Fjord near Greenland's capital is one of the largest in the world. The ice sheet here has retreated nearly 3 miles in the last few years.
The melting of the glaciers has different consequences. It has a local consequence because, of course, here we have the fjords with the glaciers, but it also has global consequences because the melting of the glaciers leads to global sea level rise.
Millions of tons of fresh water entering the ocean could alter currents and impede the Gulf Stream that warms the northern Atlantic. As the world seeks to limit global warming to below the 2 degrees Celsius target set out in the Paris Agreement, in the Arctic Circle it's already well above that. While scientists have long warned this part of the globe would warm first and faster, real-time measurements are proving them right. David Keaton, Associated Press in Nuuk, Greenland.